Hey, baby, how you guys doing? Today I've got Carly Edwards. She is joining me to talk about making content creation easy for social media. Carly helps other paid professionals in their marketing, so I'm so excited to chat to her. We actually linked up on LinkedIn. So I saw her on LinkedIn and we reached out to one another, and I thought it would be great to get her on. So thank you so much for joining me, Carly.
You're welcome. No, it's really good to be here. Really, really excited to get stuck in and talk content, because I could just talk about it for hours, to be honest.
Won't you tell the business vet rehabbers a little bit about yourself and what you do?
So I am essentially what you would call a marketing coach. My kind of official title, I suppose, is pet industry content and social media consultant. And I essentially help pet professionals thrive online and grow the business that they've always wanted. So I do that through providing kind of marketing strategies, easy processes and tools so they can grow their audience, attract consistent leads and consistent sales. So that's essentially what I do in a nutshell.
All right, I think this is exactly what the business vet rehabbers need. So, guys, if you have any questions for Carly, please post them in the comments. If this happens, you maybe watching the recording now, you can post them there, and I'll hopefully get Carly to answer any of your questions. So, Carly, obviously, one of the most overwhelming things with social media is that we've got so much on the go, and especially us vet rehabbers. And I think it's great that you actually help pet professionals, because I think that when I look at other sort of people that help in marketing for general, just small businesses, small business is very different to when you actually have a pet business, because when you have a pet business, it's usually you in it doing whatever needs to be done. Whereas a lot of the other small businesses, there is an owner and they have other people doing the work and they're sort of managing, right? So they have a lot more freedom of time. They're able to spend a bit more time on these kind of things like social media. But for us, it's really on the go kind of stuff. And it's something that I think that we try and do when we get a chance. And one of the biggest problems is because of that, we're not consistent with it. And I think that if we had a system, it would be so much better.
Yeah.
So how can we make creating content a little bit easier for ourselves so that we don't have this complete overwhelm?
Yeah. So there are basically four kind of main processes that I have. And the first one is batching your content. The second one is scheduling your content. The third one is recycling and then repurposing. So all of these processes, they work together so that you're just not constantly in it all of the time, because I totally get that. I was exactly the same when I was first kind of starting out in business, and I would just post on the fly all of the time. So you'd be pulled away from doing whatever else you're doing in your business to then have to just throw something out on social media. And sometimes it's just not very good as well, because you're not thinking about what you're going to actually post on social media. You're just kind of chucking some nonsense out there, just hoping that someone's going to engage with it. So what I do is basically have these processes so that you're thinking exactly about what your message is going to be. So you're creating all of this content that's actually going to help you hit your goals. So it all has a purpose. There's intention behind all of it. So with batching, that essentially means that I schedule in time in my calendar to actually create content in chunks. So whether that's writing kind of 4 blog posts for the month, whether that's writing all of your social media content for the month or the week, whichever way that you want to do it. Batching content just means that you're not constantly kind of cognitive switching and going from one task to the next, which can be not very productive at all. So by doing this, it just means that you sit down and actually get that stuff done. And I find that I find this whole process works really, really well for me, and my clients love it as well. So that works really well. Scheduling as well. So using there are loads of tools available to you online.
Yeah.
And there are some great social media schedulers out there, which just means that you are not posting content every day. So going into these social media channels, each one individually, and then posting some piece of content when you have that time to do it. If you pre-schedule it in advance, then it's going to go out, kind of behind the scenes while you're doing what you love or working on those other aspects of the business. So I personally I will tell you about the tools actually in a bit, but so social media schedulers are brilliant for just scheduling in that content, and so that you're not constantly there in it all the time. Recycling is basically where I have a library of content, and all of the content that I create for social media goes into this library, and then I can recycle and reuse that. So I'd suggest, having a period of about 3 months. So if you share one piece of content today, you can absolutely reshare that piece of content again. So as long as you're collecting this content into some sort of library, then you can just push that content out again and again and again. It's a really great thing to do, because not everyone's going to remember that piece of content, and you're going to get new followers into your your Facebook page, wherever it is, your Instagram, all of the time. So they won't have seen that piece of content. So you can absolutely reshare this content again and again. And then repurposing is essentially where you get the absolute most out of every single idea that you have. So say you had a blog post or something, you created a blog post, you can then turn those into micro posts for social media. You can literally just pull out those bits of content, the paragraphs, those poignant sentences that you put in there, and then make micro posts out of those. So yeah, that's a really, really great thing to do, because it's just going to save so much time. So this is how I essentially make everything run much smoother. So there's seamlessness to my marketing without me constantly being in content creation mode all of the time. And yeah, my clients love it as well. It's a great little system.
It's pretty exhausting being in that, just trying to think about what, and I think that's the thing. It's like, you think like, what should I post today? What should I post today? Yeah. Think. And then you're like, in your clinic, you're trying to think like, let me take a picture quickly and try and post. And that's exhausting. So like having a plan, scheduling it so that you don't have to worry about it is great. I think the biggest thing, like you say, is that you actually have to block off time to do it. You actually have to say to yourself once a week or once every 2 weeks or whatever, I'm going to sit down for an afternoon and I'm not going to consult, and I'm going to block off time for my marketing. And this is one of the things that I think really where we struggle with is this consistency in marketing. So marketing is an afterthought. It's something that we do when we have time. But the problem is we never have time. There is always something to do with one of our patients or an underwater treadmill, that something has to be cleaned or something, And then what happens is we might have like half an hour, and then we think, well, what can we really do in half an hour? And then you end up actually just consuming on social media instead of actually creating and do something. I think, sometimes blocking that time, for me, that's how I work. I like to block scheduled time. But even if you did it on a daily basis for certain marketing things, like we're talking about now social media, and I think that one afternoon every 2 weeks probably would be enough. So they don't have to post like 4 posts a day, right? So even if they've got maybe 2 posts a day, that'll work. So I love that idea of the recycling. So how does that actually work? Are they like sharing the exact same image and the exact same message, or are they finding another image that relates to that message and then just swapping that? Can you dive a little bit deeper into that, or are they sharing the permalink of that actual Facebook post that they did 3 months ago and just resharing it?
So you can literally so if you've got your content library there, you can literally just go back into your content library, copy and paste the content that you've already written, and then put that into a new post. You can add a new image if you want to, but the key is to keep an eye on your insights as well. So have a look at the content that's doing really, really well, make a note of that in your content library, and then you can reshare the exact same content again and again. If there's some content in there that didn't do really well, then have a little tweak around with it. Play with the angle that you're coming from within that content. Maybe add a different image in there. Maybe that image wasn't really resonating with people. So it's always a good idea to check your insights so that you know exactly what's working well and what isn't working well. But it is fine if it's worked really well for you before that particular piece of content, then it's absolutely fine to just go in, copy and paste, put the same image in again, and roll it out again. Because like I say, not everyone would have seen that piece of content before, and you'll get new followers in all of the time.
Yeah. And are you talking now about Facebook, right? So like you can't really post the same image again on Instagram, or can you?
I'd say you can. You can definitely repost again on Instagram, as long as you have that kind of gap between all of these things. Then you do have that feed, obviously, but it's going to be so kind of far down when 3 months comes along. If you're posting every single day, that it's not really going to matter that piece of content is coming again. So it's kind of the same as if you just post it to Facebook or Twitter or whatever.
Yeah.
It works.
Okay, cool. So like your content library, how do you come up with the ideas to put in there?
So there are a few different ways that you can do that. So the one thing that I do, which is great, is just to literally monitor the conversations that people are having online. So your ideal clients are having online. So if you go into things like Facebook groups, join these groups where you know that your ideal client is, have a look at the conversations, the common problems that are going on in there, and then create content around that to answer those questions, to answer those problems and provide the solution to that. So think about, what those problems are, and then what tips you can actually offer, actionable tips to actually help them with that. So there's also another great tool called answerthepublic.com. And this is where you can literally just type in like a broad keyword, a broad search term. And then when you click that kind of search button, it will come up with a brilliant wheel of content suggestions. So it's all just there for you. It's a great little tool.
I think if it's something that is Googled often, then things come up there. That's the one with that funny guy. There's like a funny face, right? It's weird. It's a bit weird, that website. Yeah.
I think they've changed that now, actually. There was like this old guy that looked a bit grumpy. And now they've got this really weird, like smarmy looking guy. And I don't like him as much.
I haven't been on there a while, but okay, so those are great tips. So like, I mean, especially for us, because we have got loads of Facebook groups that are for pet owners. So like the ones that I'm thinking about are like canine arthritis support, canine hip dysplasia support, conservative cruciate ligaments treatments or something like that. So there are loads of ones that like specifically around a lot of the conditions that we treat. And I've been in those groups before myself. And there are loads of things that people are asking. They're asking questions there. So like one of the things you can do is actually go into those groups and say help with, or, I need help with, and just do a search. And then somebody that might come up and just think about all the things that they are going to be asking advice for, and then when you write that, everything that somebody is asked advice for should come up. But if you're on them quite a lot, like I think just actually copying and pasting, and the thing is to make sure that you save all of those things, so you want to actually every single time you see something, if you're on social media, is to actually document it and save it into a little spreadsheet or something on a regular basis. So then when you sit down to create that content, you're like, okay, let me go to my spreadsheet, and then there are all the questions, and it's pretty easy for you to come up with the answers.
Yeah, absolutely. I just use a simple spreadsheet myself, so it's just got literally loads and loads of different topic ideas, loads and loads of different headlines ready for kind of blog posts, ready for social media posts as well. So it's a really great way to do it. So you've got an endless stream of ideas, and you can never say, I run out of ideas, what am I going to post next? So good thing to do.
Yeah, and I love the idea about having that content library, because if you think about it, like if you're posting about a hip dysplasia case, for example, and you want to solve a problem,
Mm.
you might have a picture of one of your current cases that you're using. That content, that description that you're writing is often the same. So we spend so much time writing it over again, but you can just copy and paste that, and every
Mm.
single time you're just the same, you're giving the same solution, right, every single time. So it's
Yeah,
you have that in that content library. I like
yeah.
it.
So it's essentially like evergreen content. Anything that's not going to become kind of outdated is great to
Yeah,
add to that content library. Anything that's kind of, is very kind of relevant to right now,
yeah,
maybe don't put that in your content library because obviously it's not going to be relevant kind of a few
yeah.
months, a year down the line. But yeah.
And then just chatting about the repurposing. So what are the things like, so if you've got, let's say you have a post, all right, so it was a picture of a patient and you put a description there, solving a problem, giving them some tips and advice. And that one is a hit. Like you can see in your insights, your reach goes through the roof, it's shared. What are the ways in which we can repurpose that content? So what are the other things? Like we know that like the message is right, we're teaching them what they want to know because we've got that engagement from the audience and people are sharing it. What can
Yeah.
we do with that post now in other ways in which we can repurpose it?
So this is a great question because there are lots of different ways that you can do that to turn it into different formats and essentially just kind of expand your reach and reach a wider audience. So you could add that to your blog. So you could create a whole blog around that, a blog post. So you're driving people to your website. You could then do a video on it. So you could go live just talking about this kind of great story, this great post that you've written, and all of the stuff that's going on there. You could, if you have a podcast, something like that, you could turn that into a podcast. If you have these different like case studies, podcast episodes, they could work really, really well. You could turn it into a short Instagram story or a Facebook story. You can add it to your Instagram grid as well. What else is there? There's loads and loads of different things that you can do. You could add it to a YouTube. If you've got a YouTube channel, that could work really, really well. So you could add it to your YouTube channel, talking about those and the different case studies there. You could also get some kind of action shots in there as well of you actually if you're in practices, I suppose, and doing it there. Yeah, so repurposing is just a brilliant way to get the most out of every idea. So really think about all the platforms that you're on and how you can actually turn that into a new piece of content. It doesn't
Yeah,
have to be anything that's really, ideally, it should start with a lead piece of content. So a lead piece of content is a bigger piece of content, like a blog post, like a video, or like a podcast or something like that. And then
yeah,
you can kind of drip that down into the different areas, so that you're pulling from that blog post, you're transcribing that video and then creating social media posts from that little micro posts. You're creating another video from that, going live around that, or creating, Instagram stories or just a standalone post on Instagram. So there's lots and lots of things that you can do to just spread that message far and wide for that one single idea. So yeah, it's a good idea to get thinking about that and thinking about all of the different platforms that you're on so that you are just kind of everywhere, because you just want to be everywhere, but you don't want to be thinking up these new ideas all of the time. So yeah, it's just getting the most out of every single idea that you have.
yeah. And I think that the key thing is to look at your insights. And so guys, there's actually a tab on Facebook, like so, and on Instagram. So you can go and look and see which are the posts that are actually working. And then
Mm.
those are the ones that you really want to repurpose. So if you have a post that is tanking and not doing so good, it might be that there's some message that's wrong there or something that's wrong with it. You want to repurpose the ones that are actually working. It's not
Mm.
always the case, I suppose, if one's tanking that it's not right. It just might not be the right way you did it.
Mm.
So you didn't maybe get the message right, or the image just wasn't right to get that person's attention. But if you're going to spend time repurpose the ones that are actually working.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah. And if there are some pieces of content in there as well that really aren't doing well, you're getting no kind of engagement, no likes, no comments or anything, then don't bother adding those to your library. Just, cut your losses there and just think about a new kind of topic that you can go with instead. And just focus on, look at those. So there might be kind of a pattern as well to your content, the individual types of content that work really, really well. So then you can look at that and look to kind of replicate that. Maybe it was a way that you worded a headline or something like that, or the kind of type of pictures that you used within that post. So really look at those key kind of details, so that you can optimize essentially your social media posts.
Yeah, and talking about the images and pictures, especially on Instagram and Facebook, and I think those are the main two that most of the vet rehabbers are on, and I think most of their audience is on. And we want images that are going to stop people from scrolling. So I think that the days of using stock images are completely gone because everyone's using them. So when you have a stock image that somebody's seen over and over again, they just scroll straight past it. And we have such a unique opportunity in our practices because we've got amazing things to photograph. I mean, we've got dogs in underwater treadmills, dogs with prosthetics and braces and wheelchairs, and so we've got dogs and things that are happening that are interesting, and we can take pictures of them. So you guys got to remember, and I think back, and this is something that I always just, even now in online pet health, I forget to take a picture. Suddenly we're doing something and then you just get into, and then afterwards you think, oh damn, I should have taken a picture of that. And actually, like, every day you should be taking pictures, and then at the end of the day, what you should be doing is moving those into an album on your phone, because otherwise they just get lost in all the other stuff that you're doing on your phone. And then when you sit down for that content creation, you pull up your album and then you move those out the album into creating your content in this, like, a library of, and using your own pictures. I think is really, really great, and having pictures of people. So I find that for us, when we share images of vet rehabbers that have got a person and the animal in, we get so much more reach and engagement than when we just have the animal, unless the animal is like super cute, like it's got something funny, like, sticking its tongue out, or like something that's really, but if it's just sort of a doggy sitting there, if it's got a person, then we get so much more reach.
Oh, that's really interesting that you've kind of discovered that as well. So it's definitely something to go with and push more of as well. If that gets you more reach, more engagement, then amazing. Do more of that.
Yeah, I think people like to see other people. So like people in images. I mean, I think there are also those people that just love images of animals. But when there is a person with the animal, it definitely makes a difference.
Yeah. It's more personal as well. And I think they can see that you've actually taken that photo as well. It's you kind of in action interacting with that pet. So it really makes a difference, because it could just be seen, if it's just an animal, then it could just be seen as like a stock image, I suppose.
Yeah, so exactly.
That, you're doing your stuff, what you're doing, this is how it all works, and they can visualize that and see that. So that's really cool. Love that.
And I got a great tip the other day, actually. In my podcast, the Veterinary Rehabilitation Podcast, I have a podcast where I do this Behind the Vet Rehab Practice podcast. And one of the vet rehabbers gave me this awesome tip when you actually register patients. So when somebody comes on and fills out the form, you actually ask the client, what is your dog's Instagram handle? So, because like, there's so many dogs that have got their own Facebook page, Instagram handles, and if your dog doesn't have one, then just like put your one down. And then, so once you've got that on record, then when you take these images, you obviously, right at the time you're taking the picture, you can ask them permission, but she actually gets them in that sheet where she's actually getting all their details. Are you okay if we take pictures to share on? So she doesn't have to then go and ask afterwards.
But
then what she does is she tags that pet owner in. So she has, because that's often the thing, is that you take the picture and you're like, oh, now I don't know what their Instagram handle is. So now you're like, when you're on the go, like on the fly, you're trying to do it, and like now you're searching for them, and you're trying to, and then you WhatsApp them and you say, have you got an Instagram? I've got an awesome picture, and then they don't get back to you, and then you just post it, and then missed out on that opportunity. And then what she also does is she checks to see what vet practice they were at. So that's in the name, and then she has a list of all the vet practices, and she has a list of all their Instagram handles. So when she posts that image now of her treating the patients, she tags in the original image the vet practice, because it's their patients, mentions them, and then tags the pet owner, and then they share the post, and then everything happens. So I love that idea, because I think it's the kind of thing where you're organized with it, and then you get that exposure, because you get exposure to the vet practice and their audience, and to the pet owner and their friends, because they're going to share it, both of them might repost it.
Yeah, that's a brilliant idea. Yeah, I love that.
So one of the challenges I find, and I wonder for people that are actually in practice and have their own like pet businesses, how do they keep up to date with all the changes that happen on Facebook and social media? Because it's nuts. I mean, it's just continually happening. Have you got any tips and advice for them?
It's constantly changing, constantly evolving. It's like, marketing is just mental. It's from like 10 years ago to now, it's just like unrecognizable. It's crazy. So there are a couple of things to keep up to date with kind of social media in general and the changes that are happening there. So one I really like is Social Media Examiner. I don't know whether you've heard of that. And Social Media Today as well. Those two are generally kind of my go-to places, because they've got tons and tons of articles on there, all around kind of, Facebook changes, updates that are happening, but also just marketing your business in general. So it's a really, really great thing to dig into. It's a great resource, both of them are. You can also do something like setting up a Google alert as well. So if you go to Google Alerts and you just type in something like social media or Facebook or whatever, then this will then send those kind of recent articles straight to your inbox. So then whenever you're checking your emails, you can just click on it and there you go, it comes straight to you. So that's a really good tip as well. But those two, Social Media Examiner, Social Media Today, they are great resources. And then just to have that Google alert as well, to bring all of that content to you, that's a really good thing to do as well, because it just takes the hassle of just going over there and then sifting through their articles as well. So
I follow Social Media Examiner, and they actually have like some live training on their page. So you can actually watch it. Sometimes it's a little bit like over my head, some of the stuff that they're talking about. But I think it's good. It's really good to keep on top of what's happening. Because, the more I learn about it, the more I realize that, all the algorithm is affected by like what Facebook does and what Instagram is doing. So like now, for example, they've just actually done some training now, which I actually want to go and look at over the next 2 days, on Instagram Reels. That's something new that's just come out. And, Instagram and Facebook, they're the same company that own both of them. So what they love is when they bring something out, when you use it, you get affected by the algorithm positively, because when they have something new, these new and early adopters that people are using it, then they'll push you basically out. They want people to have a look at your stuff. So actually, by being on top of what they're doing and looking at the new things. So when they have something new, you guys got to try it. Just try it. If you don't like it, then you don't carry on with it. But Reels is now the thing, right? Everyone is trying to do some Reels. And when you are doing the Reels, then Instagram is saying, oh, okay, cool. I'll push you to some more people. And then your reach is a bit better and you get exposed to a bigger audience.
Yeah, that's awesome. That's a really good idea as well, to just kind of dig into those new features as they're rolled out, because you can't really go wrong.
No,
you may just stumble upon something that's really awesome for your business, like does really, really well and just flies for you. So
that's the thing, is you might stumble on something that you can actually do. So like
you really enjoy doing as well.
So like maybe you're not a photo and text kind of poster, maybe you're actually video, and you just haven't given it a chance. So yeah.
Yeah, I know that lots of people, lots of my clients generally are just quite terrified of video. A lot of them are.
Yeah.
And I totally get that as well, because I was exactly the same kind of a few years ago when I was just starting my business, and I avoided video for a very, very long time. It wasn't something that was ever on my radar. And I just thought, that's not something that I will ever love or get into. So I totally get it. But video right now is just really doing amazing things for businesses. So if you're not kind of getting yourself on Facebook Lives, even just doing pre-recorded videos and posting those to, you know, your Facebook page or wherever it is that you are, get into it. Like, ease yourself into it slowly. The way that I did it was by doing 30 days of pre-recorded videos and posting that to my Facebook page. And that really just helps you kind of incrementally get over that fear. And then you can kind of work yourself up to going live, I suppose, because yeah, live can be a really scary thing sometimes if you're just doing it for the first time. So it's good to kind of ease yourself into it with pre-recorded stuff. But yeah, get onto video because they're great.
My greatest tip for the live is to go on with somebody else. Don't go on your own. So because it's so much easier talking, like you and I. Like, imagine if it was just me now, or just you now trying to teach everything that we're saying. You know, you would have to have prepared, and it would, like, because then there's moments where you like forget what you're saying, and like now it's just a conversation, and everyone is hopefully learning stuff, you know, that they're listening to us, and it's just a little bit easier. You feel a little bit more comfortable when you're speaking to somebody. So my tips for live is straight away, just go on with somebody, find another professional. So you know, even another vet rehabber, they can be on another part of the world. It doesn't matter where they are. Maybe it's a hydrotherapist and you are a physio, or maybe you're the vet and you bring a physio on, or a chiropractor, or an osteopath, or somebody that has something that you guys can have a conversation about and that can benefit your audience. And you can speak about how both of you can basically help their pets. So yeah, that's my tip. And the other thing that I do, you know, because and people wouldn't probably think it, but I really don't like doing videos. I hate it because I feel like I record it and then I'm never happy with it. And then it's a mission, I feel, to edit it out, because then I'll like redo it and then I want to edit it. And so like sometimes what's quite nice to do is actually talk a little bit. So do a little bit of talking and then put that onto like a PowerPoint presentation where you actually have something on the screen, or you have a picture of the dog up, let's say, or a video, and then you're actually speaking while you're not on the screen. And I find that so much easier when it's not me being looked at, you know. So not just you, just yourself. So you got to get into it slowly, though. It is that kind of, and I think video is where we're going. So we actually have to make that move towards video.
So, absolutely.
So Carly, it's been so interesting. If you guys have got any questions, please post them in the comments. So we've had a few comments. Somebody said, great reminder about recycling content. Yeah, that was a really, really great tip. And I think it's something that people definitely do not do. You always think that you posted something and then you can't do it again. But like you say, you've got new people coming on, and also probably with the algorithm, maybe people don't see it. So you actually have some free training that you're going to offer, right? I think, Addie, if you can post that link in the comments, and then Carly, why don't you tell us a little about that?
Yeah, so I basically have next Tuesday? Yeah, it's totally next Tuesday. Next Tuesday at 7 p.m. UK time. I have a free training going on how to build a winning Facebook marketing strategy. So this is going to dive much deeper into kind of some of the stuff that we've mentioned today, and other areas as well around that. So it's literally going to take you kind of from start to finish to build your Facebook marketing strategy. There's also a workbook as well for you to actually build your own. So it's going to be super, super useful. It's only an hour long. It's just an hour commitment of your time. And it's 7 p.m. UK time. So I don't know what time that is for you guys.
So it was our audience is global. So we've got people in the States, Canada, everywhere. So for Africa, it'll be 1 hour later. So that'll be 8 o'clock. And then for people in New York, it'll be 6 hours before. So that'll be 2 p.m. for them. And then Denver will be, I think, 12 p.m. in the afternoon.
Wow.
And then I think for the poor Australians and New Zealanders, I think it's going to be like 4 a.m. if I'm right. Guys, don't quote me on these times. This is just my little head trying to work out all those times.
Yeah. Hopefully it works out in some way, but there's going to be a replay obviously as well. So if you can't make it live, then the replay will be there for you to view. But yeah, it's going to be awesome. So it's just going to help you a little bit more, create more of that kind of ease and flow into your Facebook marketing strategy. So you're not feeling like you're constantly there creating content all the time, and but you're getting better results from it as well, but kind of in half the time. That's kind of my little promise to you. So with all of these processes that I'm putting in there, hopefully we can really get that Facebook marketing strategy up to scratch so that you're attracting more of those leads to you and attracting more of those sales. So yeah, really excited for it. So that's next Tuesday. Can I actually post in the chat? I don't know.
So Ali will. So if you send that link to Ali, you can. Otherwise, she can post it afterwards. Please excuse the growling dog in the background. It's my Jack Russell who's behind the screen, and I don't know what she's doing. She's playing with herself. So it's not me grunting. We have got a question. How often should we post? So how often should you be posting every day?
So I'd say a minimum of 1 post a day. So if you can do more, that is awesome. But I stick to 1 post a day personally as well, because I find if I'm going to do any more, it's going to be too overwhelming and it's going to suck up too much of my time. But that is a good kind of best practice to keep your audience kind of engaged, keep that interaction up so that you have that presence, that consistent presence there. So if you can, batch create your posts either at the beginning of the month so that you can do them for all of the month, that would be awesome. Or if you can just do them at the beginning of the week and then schedule those out, that's absolutely fine as well. I often do that myself. But 1 post a week, 1 post a day.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I think also, like, don't post for the sake of it. Rather post good content. Yeah. Because if you post something that, it doesn't engage with your audience, then it also affects the algorithm, and then your posts start to decrease the amount of reach that they're going to get with the rest of your followers. So.
Yeah, so I think the key is to think about who your ideal client really is, and then create that content that's specifically for them, that is going to resonate with them. So dig deep into that ideal client and their problems and their pain points, their dreams, their likes and dislikes, all of that stuff, so that you're tailoring that content to them and getting that messaging across in a way that's really going to resonate. That's the key.
Awesome. So guys, we'll post that in the comments. So Carly, thank you so much. It's been awesome having a chat with you.
It's been a pleasure. I'm more than happy to come on at any time if you want to invite me back anytime. No, it's been awesome. Loved it.
Definitely. We'll definitely get you on again. Thanks for all those guys that joined us live. And if you're watching the recording, obviously just post your comments and your questions, and we will get back to you. Awesome. Thanks, guys. Cheers, Carly. Have a great day.
Bye-bye. Bye.